This video will walk you through the process of setting up your Leica GNSS receiver via the web interface to collect static raw data. The web interface is installed on our Leica GS10s, GS14s, GS16s, GS15s, and can be accessed through pretty much any web browser. So, what you will need to make this happen is you will need a LEMO to USB cable. That is a Leica cable GEV234. And you will also need either Windows ActiveSync for older versions of Windows or Windows Mobile Manager for Windows 7, 8, or above installed on your computer. Once you have that installed, you'll be able to hook up the GNSS receiver to your computer and access the web interface. To do that, in your web browser, you would type in this IP address, 192.168.254.2. Now, you can use the web interface to set your GNSS receiver up as either a base station for RTK or as a rover for RTK, in which you might want to do some auto surveying and store data directly to the unit without a controller being involved, or in this case, set it up for static surveys. So, to set up for static surveys, you would select Instrument, and then you would set your operation mode. Now, for everything other than an RTK base station, the mode will be set to rover. Once you've set the mode to rover, then you can select whether your antenna is going to be on a pole, on a tripod, on a GNSS, or on a total station. So you see the different options you have here for our GS. In this example, I am using a GS16, so you see the different options you have for a GS16. The next thing you would do is you could set your default antenna height. Now, if you're going to be changing antenna heights, you're going to be using this unit, GS16, on a tripod where the height will change from station to station. Then we would want to set the antenna measuring height here to 0, and then when you import the data into the software for post-processing, you would then edit your information to put in the correct height. In this case, we're going to do a GS16 on a pole, so we're going to set the height to 2 meters. The antenna moving height, we're going to leave at 0. This would be used if you were doing RTK surveys where you would mount your GNSS receiver on a moving vehicle, a boat, or something of that nature, and you wanted to add an offset from the bottom of the pole or the brackets you're mounting the antenna on to the ground or to whatever surface you're trying to measure. So in this case, because we're doing static surveys, we're going to leave that set to 0. Once we have this information set, we will press the floppy disk icon, and this will save our changes. Now, with the web browser, we don't want to use the back button to access other options, so what we'll do here is select Instrument again and go to the raw data logging mode. In this situation, again, we're collecting raw data in the field without the benefit of a field controller or data collector. So we're going to log our data to the GS sensor. That means that you will need a memory device installed in your GS sensor. For the Leica GS14 and GS16, you will need a micro SD card. For the GS10 and the GS15, you can use a standard SD card. So we're going to tell it to log data to the GS sensor, and we're going to tell it to start logging as soon as the antenna is turned on. In this case, what will happen, since you're going to start logging immediately, is that you will have a few seconds to maybe a few minutes of data that may need to be excluded in your post-processing. We also have the option to set whether we're doing static or how we're logging data, either as static or kinematic. In this case, it's a static or rapid static survey, so I'm going to set this field to static. And I can set my collection rate. Now please note that the collection rate may vary depending on the units that you have, and there are some options, purchase options to get faster collection rates. We won't go into that here. The next thing we're going to do is select the data type to log. If you haven't purchased the Rhinex logging option, then you will only have the MDB option here. So once we have everything set the way we want, we'll press our floppy disk again to save our changes, and we get a notice here that the raw data logging configuration has been changed. So one more time, we're going to go back to Instrument, and we can look at the other settings. I'm going to go to Satellite Settings, and in this case, this unit is enabled for both GPS and GLONASS. If I had Galileo or Baidu enabled, I could also check those, and I could turn this off so I could do GPS only, GLONASS only, depending on whatever you wanted to observe, whatever satellite signals you wanted to observe. And then you can set the cutoff angle, and that is all based on your preferences in the field and how you want to record data. Once you're done, you get back to the home screen, and all you need to do is exit out of the web interface and power your unit down. When you go to the field, you'll be able to turn it on, and raw data, as long as the memory card is installed, will immediately begin being logged.